Welcome back to the Strength and Speed Podcast. I'm your host, Strength and Speed owner, Conquer the Gauntlet Pro, Evan Preparis. Got a guest with me on the line. Before we get to him, though, quick word from this episode's sponsor. This episode is brought to you by Playout. Playout is a card game that allows you to work on your fitness pretty much in any environment, right? So it's a deck of cards, and rather than like the old school way of like assigning each, suite of cards a type of exercise and then doing the number, this kind of simplifies it for you. It gives you an easy, medium, and hard level. They've got a couple different decks. They've got one that's it's called Play Out the Game 2, Play Out the OCR game. Obviously, I'd like the OCR game the best because the movements are specifically designed to help you get better at OCR, right? So like it tells you what movement it's simulating, which I think is super cool. And they also have some like family versions. So a great game. I've been playing it with my kids. They always have a good time, and it gets them active, gets them moving, and you can head over to playoutthegame.com and pick them up. Also, take a look at mudrunguide.com. I've got a couple of reviews out about them. Playout 2 reviews out, Playout the OCR reviews out. That one's super old, not written by me, but it's been up there. And then there's a comparison article coming out probably in the next couple of weeks. All right, let's get to today's guest. Today's guest is Van Tran. He's a 29-year-old. He's been running OCR since 2014, so we both entered OCR the same year, which is cool. Got a lot of top finishes, second overall at 2016 BattleFrog Xtreme 24-hour, handful of top 3 finishes at Savage Race, currently a full-time registered nurse student, and switching to focus the remainder of the year in 2022 will be geared toward DECA Fit, which is cool because we haven't had anyone that's kind of focused on DECA Fit. And also as podiumed at all 3 Battle of the Lions events. Is that correct, Ben?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
That's correct.
We got a second place, a 2 seconds, and a first. Or is that right?
Right. Yeah. Second place in Dallas, Kansas, and first place in OKC this past weekend.
Yeah. So, Van, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I've seen your name, and people have said your name to me dozens and dozens of times, right? About what a great athlete you are and your performance. And then I was like, I literally know nothing about this dude. I was like, I need to get him on the podcast and talk to him. And then, talking to you before the show started, I was like, have you been on a podcast before? And the answer is no, correct?
No, this is my first time being on a podcast.
That's wild. Again, because you've had some top finish. You've been on Savage podiums, BattleFrog Xtreme, and just a ton
American
of
Ninja Warrior.
Yeah,
I forgot to mention that.
How many seasons were you on American Ninja Warrior?
Just once. It was one of those things that I was like, hey, let's put all my eggs in this basket and see how it pans out. Of course, I'm not a millionaire, so.
So it did not pan out super well.
No. But, it was a good experience, though.
Yeah, totally. All right. Well, let's again, since you haven't been on a podcast before, we won't be rehashing information for anyone. So let's start at the beginning, right? You've been running OCR since 2014. So how did you get involved? Because you must have been around 22-ish at the time.
Yes. So in 2014, I just finished my Air Force service. And
Air Force veteran too. Oh,
yeah.
Why don't we talk more? Why don't we talk more?
Okay.
I'm an Army guy, good. So.
Gotcha. Yeah, I read your bio. You were like Special Forces or something. Right?
Yeah. I'm still am. I got about 3 years before I retire, but.
Oh, awesome. Thank you for your service.
Well, thank you for your service. My pleasure.
Yeah, so after my military service, I was kind of didn't know where I was going with fitness. I worked out at a local YMCA, but I always loved like competing and testing myself. And so I saw a Spartan advertised on TV. And I was like, yeah, let's sign up for one. The closest one to me was in Austin. It's a super and sprint weekend, and I did that. And that was my first OCR race with Spartan Austin, 2014.
Gotcha.
And I got hooked ever since. Yep.
Yeah, I was gonna say, were you competing in other stuff at the time, or you did the OCR, you found it, and you're like, this is 100% what I'm in on?
To be honest, like I like. At that time, I enjoy going to the gym and just lift weights,
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a running background. I mean, I ran track and field in high school, but that's about it. Yeah.
Gotcha. And then what was it that kind of pulled you into Spartan Race or OCR in general?
I'm not too sure. I like running. I don't love it. I like running, but running by itself is kind of boring for me. Having a mix of obstacles and stuff in there, it's kind of fun. And like I said, I like competing and testing myself. I like competition. I just don't like training.
Yeah,
Do you
I
know
mean,
what I mean?
yeah, oh, totally. I mean, the competition
Yeah.
is the best part, but in order to, yeah, I mean, yeah, as you know, right? Like in order to get that experience and get those wins and stuff like that, you got to put in a lot of training when no one's watching and no one cares. So,
Yes, sir.
cool. And then, so, what would you consider your specialty distance? You mentioned you did Ninja Warrior. I mentioned you had a second place finish at the one and only BFX Extreme 24 Hours. What do you either like? What's your specialty, and then what you like? What do you like best?
Well, I like to think that I'm better at obstacles than I'm a runner. Um, I like playing with obstacles, and I weigh like 125 pounds, so it's really easy for me to maneuver on like harder rigs and stuff that they would have at BattleFrog and Savage Race. But yeah, I need to work on my running.
Well, you're doing pretty good because you're beating most of the Battle of the Lions field. How tall are you, just to give people an idea?
I'm 5'4",
Yeah,
125 pounds.
gotcha.
Yeah, on a good day.
But I mean, so I'm looking at your we're doing this over Zoom audio, so I can see your profile picture there. But like you look muscular, like not to be weird about it, right? But like, I mean, you don't look like rail thin, right? Like, I mean, you look like looking at this picture, I would guess you're significantly heavier and a little bit taller because I don't have any reference points in the picture.
No, I've been 125 pounds since the age of 18. Like ever since high school, I've been 125. It
Gotcha.
doesn't matter what I do. Yeah,
You
it's
just
been
think
a
it's
decade.
fast metabolism or training style? What do you think it is?
Probably a combination of both, I think.
Gotcha.
I try to put on weight before. I would eat Papa John's pizza for like the whole week, like literally a large pizza with all the toppings that you can get for an entire week, and wouldn't gain a pound or two. Yeah.
Nice.
And then when I was competing for American Ninja Warrior, I was training for American Ninja Warrior. I was trying to lose like 5 pounds. I was trying to get from 125 to 120, and 8 months, 9 months gone by, like I can't lose 4 or 5 pounds. It's ridiculous. I'm stuck at 125.
Nice. So take me through, what your normal kind of training week looks like currently.
Monday is always my recovery day. Start of the week, because I hit Sunday pretty hard. Sunday, I normally do a race sim when I go to a local trail and run like an all-out effort, 100% effort, 90 minutes or an hour and a half. So Monday is my recovery day, and then Tuesday I hit it hard again, normally like a tempo pace run or a threshold, and pretty much like that, a hard day, then an easy day, a hard day, easy day.
Gotcha. All right. And we're going to jump back in time because I want to hear about, you got to do the one and only BFX Extreme, which I was jealous because I was overseas at the time, so I did not get to run that one. Tell me a little bit about that event.
So I'm still new to the OCR game, and I just kind of want to try out the different length of course, like the sprint and the ultra,
Mm-hmm.
And I love BattleFrog. BattleFrog was like, I don't know, it was a good fit for me because their obstacles are hard, and I excel with the hard obstacles because I'm a slower runner compared to, a lot of the elite guys out there. Yeah. So I signed up for it like a week before. I flew to Orlando. I think it was Orlando or Miami. Stayed with a friend of mine. And then, yeah, I just kind of run that race. Didn't really train for an ultra. Didn't know what to expect. Now that I have some experience, like you're supposed to eat throughout a 24-hour race. I didn't know that back then. So I just brought like a bunch of goo gels, some Pedialyte's powder mix, and a few gallon of water. That's it. Yeah, that was my nutrition for 24 hours, just goo gels and water and electrolytes.
Gotcha. I mean, you seem to do pretty well. How did your stomach feel during it?
During it, no problem, to be honest. Yeah, but I was super hungry, like 12 hours in, like I was crashing so bad. And the guy that I stayed with, his name is Matthew Morgan. He used to run a lot of OCR. I don't know what he's doing nowadays, but yeah, he would go get food for me, like miso soup. I remember he brought me some miso soup and some donuts, some gummy bears. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so that helped out a bunch.
Have you after that experience, have you thought about doing World's Toughest, or have you done World's Toughest?
I did. The year after BattleFrog, I did World Toughest when it was in Las Vegas. And I ran 50 miles. I couldn't handle the weather and the elevation. Not the elevation, but the elevation changes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because it's really hilly out there in the desert of Las Vegas. And I'm from San Antonio. It's super flat here. So yeah, I dropped out after 50 miles. I think I got really, really cold, and my feet wasn't, hurting really, really bad. So
Yeah,
I was like, nope, I'll come back next year, and I never did.
Give our listeners a comparison between like what kind of some of the difference between the BFX 24 and the World's Toughest from your experience.
It's 100% different, I would say. I mean, it's an ultra course. It's a 24-hour endurance race. That's the only similarity that they share. But BattleFrog have really, really hard obstacles, and it's really dense in a 5-mile course, whereas Tough Mudder, their obstacles kind of, I don't want to trash talk Tough Mudder, but their obstacles are kind of easy.
Yeah, they're easy, especially when you
silly.
compare them to, Battle of the Lions or Conquer the Gauntlet or BattleFrog, right? Or even
Right,
Savage, right? Yeah,
exactly.
And they're more designed for teamwork and more designed, honestly, because they've been doing World's Toughest. Like whenever I think I'm speculating here. Whenever they build an obstacle, they think about it also like, well, where does this fit in our normal obstacle lineup for like World's Toughest and Toughest Mudder, right? So
right,
it's got to be doable.
Correct.
Several times as opposed to one all-out effort. Sorry. Keep going.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's the difference is BattleFrog obstacle is really hard compared to Tough Mudder. But Tough Mudder terrain, since it's always been in Vegas, I think, right? Or at least when I did it, it was in Vegas. It was super hard. And, BattleFrog held their 24-hour event in Miami, which is like on a sandy beach, is super flat. Yeah. So if you can, if you're used to running on flat grounds and you're good on obstacles, then you're pretty well set up to win BattleFrog or to podium at BattleFrog.
Yeah. If I would have known that was going to be the one and only BFX 24 and they were going to go out of business, I would have tried to fly back for it because that was the
yeah, but no one knows at the time.
Yeah,
they were going down. So
yeah, that was I was deployed to Lebanon that year, so I actually flew back from Lebanon to Vegas for World's Toughest in 2015. So yeah, it was quite a trip, and I did not do well because the time zone shift was brutal. But
yeah,
I would have done it again for BFX.
Dude, how do you? Quick question: how do you train when you're deployed?
So it really depends.
While you're on deployment.
Yeah, it really depends on the deployment. That deployment I was in Lebanon, so I actually worked at the U.S. Embassy, and I would just the embassy had a compound, and basically I would do loops around the compound. So all the guards knew who I was because I'd wake up in the morning, and the compound was only, it wasn't even a half a mile. It was probably like a half mile around, maybe. And it was like on the side of a hill, so the terrain was awful. So my pace was obnoxiously slow. But I would just do loops, like literally I would just run around the perimeter of the compound all day. Other
That's
deployments,
crazy.
I've done similar stuff. A lot of my earlier deployments when I was going to Iraq was before I got into OCR and before I basically used that as an off season. A lot of times I would stop running completely for a couple months. And then as I got closer to the end of the deployment, I would start doing loops of the compound again, because it's really boring. So I try to be able to like stack all my endurance training at the end, those last like 3 months. And then I would usually try to run a marathon on the base at some point, sometimes on a treadmill, which was also awful. It was just like, it was like a forcing function to like get me to do something and be like, well, I have to run today because I'm going to run a marathon in 2 weeks, which is going to be painful. And then that way I recover and then kind of come back home and at least have a little bit of endurance training back under my belt. But yeah,
Gotcha.
it's mostly lifting and consuming no explode and eating protein
No
powder.
explode. Whoa.
Yeah, old school.
That's old school pre-workout right
Yeah,
there.
that was like the first pre-workout that I had ever even heard of. Good stuff. Yeah, you've been involved in OCR since 2014, which is quite a while. Especially, I just reading one of my teammate Ashley Sample's post, and she was commenting today, basically like she's been getting burned out, and she's kind of taking a step back, and she like basically cleared her calendar for the rest of the year. And the only one she's doing is Conquer the Gauntlet 10-year anniversary event coming up in early September. So how are you, keeping that motivation to keep coming back and keep performing well since 2014?
To be honest, Evan, I don't think I've really tapped my full potential yet in OCR, because every year I've been doing it, like I've been in school for such a long time, and I don't believe that I've put in a lot of work over the years to really, perform my best. And I hope to do that in 2022 because I'm going to wrap up my my degree and just switching, focus to train full time. And because I'm approaching 30, so I want to give it my last shot and, compete at my best, and then call it quits, I think, after that.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So still have unfinished business, still haven't reached your peak. Got it. How often are you racing each year approximately?
I would say about 10 races a year.
Okay. That's a decent number. I mean, that's a lot for most people. Yeah. That's solid. And then tell me about, so you decided to come out to a bunch of the Battle of the Lions this year. Tell me about kind of that decision and what your experience has been so far at them.
Well, in 2020, I didn't get to race at all because of the pandemic, and I didn't do anything over there. I didn't compete. I didn't do any trail running over there while I was working for them. Basically, I did a lot of drinking and partying for 2 years. Yep.
And where were you? Sorry, you broke up a little bit.
I was in Vietnam working for my family's. They own some business over there.
Nice.
Yeah, so I was over there for 2018 and 2019. Then I came back to the U.S. in 2020, and COVID hit, and all the races canceled. The only race I got to do in 2020 was Savage Race Dallas. So in 2021, I'm like, dude, I'm going to try to do as many races as I can because I don't know how long it'll last, And so Battle of the Lion came out, and I'm like, oh, man, I check out the obstacles, like, oh, these are some really tough obstacles. Like, I want to go do some of them. So, yeah, that's how I got into Battle of the Lions.
Gotcha. And, you're one of the group of people that's done all three so far. How would you compare the feel of the kind of the three different courses? Because you've done the grip, you've done the strength, and you've done the endurance one.
I think more people should try Battle of the Lions, to be honest, so we can get some good competition in there. Because in all three races, I think my main competition was Victor Gazeta and Brent Hastert.
Yep.
I don't know how to say his last name.
That's right.
And some other guys. Obviously, you. I think your name came into my mind, popped into my head when I was doing the OKC, because I know you're known for being a longer distant guy, right? So
Yep.
I was like, yeah, look out for Evan, like see what he's doing, maybe pace off of you. And then, yeah, okay, see Brent like took out doing that.
Yeah, he always goes out hard. I felt a little bit still run down from Toughest Mudder, which was a couple of weeks before that. So I was to kind of let my body warm up into it, and my plan was to, kind of speed up as the event went on, and it worked kind of. Kind of ran out of time, so I guess I should have gone out a little harder at the beginning, but I wasn't really feeling it at the
So
time.
you ran a 12-hour course, because that's what Toughest is, right? Toughest is a 12-hour course.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it was a couple of
and
weeks
and
ago.
then and then show up to, but still, man, like it takes a while to recover from running a long distance like that.
Yeah.
At least for me, it normally takes about a week or two for me to fully recover, and within that 2 weeks I can't really train. you know
Yeah.
yeah I
Yeah.
kind of did something similar. The week before Battle Alliance OKC, I was down in Houston area competing in an all-day event called the Grit Games, hosted by Grit Fitness.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was literally the week before Battle Alliance OKC. So I didn't know how I was going to perform, going into a 13, 15-mile race, because I've never run that long in a long time. So, but I'm glad I did well.
Yeah. It was fun. Again, for me personally, I'm more of an ultra guy. So like I wanted/needed one or possibly several more laps.
Yeah.
Try to close the distance a little more, but it was interesting again because I actually had Brent on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about like who to watch out for, and we were saying like the 15-mile range is like above most people's kind of comfort range, so that's like what
Yeah.
they train for, but it's below what most of the endurance people like me train for, right? So it's like this weird gray area. So we were kind of curious to see how things were going to play out, and
Yeah. Honestly, that race, it could have been anybody's race, man.
yeah. So it was
Yeah.
interesting. A lot of people went out real hard that first lap. I was shocked. What about what'd you think of the bucket carry on the first lap?
Let's not talk about that. I'm still feeling it in my neck. That was 2 weeks ago, dude. That was ridiculous. That's got to be like at least, I don't know, like a 1 kilometer carry.
So,
That was a heavy bucket too. Yeah.
yeah, people were saying it was like 0.75 miles. I was not.
So yeah, a little over a kilometer. That's
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah, that was not fun.
Yeah. So
Thanks, Sid.
yeah, we ended up basically all the elite men took I'm not sure what happened if we took a wrong turn there, or or if someone had ripped down the tape. I know so the race was held at a park, and so there was tape everywhere, and some of the like walkers were like thought it was garbage and were like pulling up the course markings.
I blame Brent for leading that race
That
on the
sounds
first lap,
fair.
because everybody followed him. It was like, oh, he's carrying it that way, so I'm gonna go that way. I don't want to get lost.
Yeah, I'll concur with that.
Yeah.
So
It's all his fault.
yeah, but it was good, and I know some of the ladies I was talking to were like, oh, I thought they were gonna make the obstacles easier because it was the endurance one, and like honestly, they were
It's harder.
They were basically the same obstacles that they're at their normal race. You just had to do them multiple times.
Well, they switched up the Valkyrie, right? Instead
Right.
of going up and down, it's like you have to climb up a rope, start down on the obstacle, and then go back up, and then come down a rope. So that was an interesting twist. And then they added a new obstacles in there when you have to. Man, it was like a 4x4 that you got to climb up, and then it'll tilt, and then you have to kind of, hop over to a metal bar and repeat that twice. That was interesting.
So that was Lagaf. It's originally from Northman Race up in Canada. And so people who've been to OCRWC or NORAM would recognize it. I will say, though, the way Sid built it, they didn't tilt as easy, right? So I got on there expecting it to tilt just like it did at the previous ones I'd done, and it wasn't flipping over. And I was like, what the? So my first lap, I actually fell off of it because I was like, what? I'm wasting energy. So I jumped off, grabbed a drink of water, and kind of re-attacked it. But for any of our listeners that want to see it more in depth, we've got on the Conquer the Gauntlet Pro Team page, we're going to post a technique video for it. Where I think Amy Pajic Miranda Huber maybe, and Scott Rozecki go through it and kind of show you the
Miranda. I think, that name sounds familiar. I think she was at the Grit Games.
She was, yeah. I think her team won, if I remember correctly.
That's right. Yeah, she competed in the team event. Yeah, her team did win first place. Yeah.
Yeah. So since we're on that, actually, let me finish up Battle of the Lines, then we'll jump back over to the Grit Games. So I want to hear more.
Okay,
about
sounds
that.
good.
Yeah. So I thought Battle of the Lines was just a ton of fun, the endurance one, and for those of you who listened to the Brent podcast, it was almost a repeat of exactly what happened at the Conquer the Gauntlet Continuum race. So he was on the whatchamacallit, the Complector, the low rig, low rig weaver, low rig, and I was a couple minutes behind him, and he was cramping, so his leg was cramping, so he was basically stuck there, and I caught up to him, and someone was like, "There's only 2 people to finish," and I blew through that thing, and as I was going across, he cramped completely.
I watch you pass Brent. And I was like, dude, I could see it in your face. You wanted it so bad, bro.
Yeah, it was one of those times where,
that was awesome.
I was running hard because, it's always anyone's race when mandatory obstacle completion until you cross the finish line. And but I wasn't expecting to see him there. So it was a surprise, and they said it, and I was like, oh, it is on. And I love Brent. He's my teammate, but in racing, it's every man for himself at that point. So
yes, sir.
Yeah.
No, so it's a friendly competition. Even when I compete with some of my teammates on the Grit team, But yeah, we're just out there doing our best and hoping to push each other to be better and elevate each other. That's all.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and when I crossed the finish line, I mean, I collapsed after because I was running so hard, and I think you were. So I'm doing the very final obstacle is like a rope drag or something.
Right.
Yeah, and you're like, I'm still going hard, and you're like,
yeah, I'm like, come on, dude.
You're like, he fell, and I was like, I was like, yeah.
I don't think you heard what I said because you were just like so in the zone at that time, and your focus was to cross the finish line. It's like that for me too. Like when I'm racing, people are cheering me on or whatever, telling me, coaching me on the obstacle. I'm like, no, I didn't hear you because I was trying to do what I got to do to win.
Yeah, it's I mean, visually and auditory, I'm like almost completely tunnel vision, right? Like, or tunnel hearing, right? I have no idea what's going on. That's why I always think it's funny. Jason Williams always posts pictures of him like posing in front of the camera at race photos, and I was like, I don't even see the race photographer like ever. Like I can count on one hand the number of times I've seen a race photographer, and I run races like every other weekend, so it's completely tunnel vision there. Yeah, let's talk about Grit Games. I want to know more about that. Tell us a little bit about that event.
Grit Game is, dude, how do I describe Grit Game? It's honestly, it's like a CrossFit day of OCR. There's 5 events that spread throughout the day. It starts from like 7 in the morning to 5 p.m. Yeah, and the 5 events, they will test you on strength, speed, obstacle proficiency, endurance, and OCR specific. They literally have an OCR race in the middle of the day. Yeah. So I signed up for Grit last year. Like I said, last year COVID hit us hard, everybody, and I was like trying to search around for race and competition to do. And so I did Grit for the first time last year. Didn't do really well because I don't know what it is, what it was. Didn't know how to train for it. Victor won last year, and I'm like, man, I really want to beat Victor. So I came back. I came back strong in 2021. Yeah, I took a month off of work in July and trained for it, and result shows.
Nice. Then how did you end up doing?
I won.
Okay,
I won.
that's what I figured.
Yeah.
And you're also on the Grit Fitness Pro team there, correct?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Right on.
It's a great team, man. I love the people. It's the people that makes the place, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, we just had Kate Bykowitz on the podcast about 2 episodes ago. And Matt Matt Campione used to be on my team back in the day a couple of years ago. So another great guy who's been at Battle of the Lions this year.
Yeah, Matt's awesome, dude. Love him.
Yeah.
We went back in BattleFrog days, like 2014, 2015. We'd do road trips together and compete together in a lot of the BattleFrogs competition.
Yeah, he used to be all over the racing scene back then. So
yeah,
it was funny. I was talking to him at Battle of the Lions, and he's like, "Yeah, I was obviously like big into OCR a couple of years ago, and then I kind of took some time off and came back." He's like, and now like people don't know who I people don't know who I am. Like he was saying at a Spartan race, they when they call people forward, they called his name forward, and people are like, "Who the hell is this guy?" He's like,
"Yeah,
I used to
that
race."
That happened to me for the first time this year. They called out my name in Austin and in Dallas, and I'm like, "Oh, me?" And I think Luke Halterman was like, "Yeah, man, like they call your name." I'm like, "Okay." Like I haven't run Spartan race in like 3-4 years, but I appreciate it. Appreciate the love.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So Evan, have you competed in the Grit game before?
I have not. No.
Dude, you should try it next year. It's super fun, dude. Like literally it tests every aspect of fitness. It's a really, really cool event. I would recommend it to a lot of people.
Gotcha. I'll have to keep an eye out and see if it fits well into my schedule next year.
Yeah.
And it's in San Antonio, is that right?
It's in Houston.
Houston, okay.
Houston area, yeah.
It's a bit of a trip for me, so I might have to fly. But yeah. Okay. Right on. I haven't been down to Houston. I ran the Houston Marathon way back 2005. Yeah. Way back 2005.
All I can say is it's super hot, super humid. Yeah, hot and humid, Texas weather.
Give us some of the examples of some of the events you guys did. I know you gave like the categories, but like,
Yeah, so to start out with a strength event, it's you run a 400-meter lap. That's your buy-in. And then there's 6 exercise or movement that you would do for 30 minutes. And the more exercise you do, then you rack up the points that way. It's like a bucket carry, farmer's carry, then a kind of like a tire flip, but they use a railroad tie, like a wooden beam. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. There's a Herc hoist, which is like extremely hard, over the shoulder, sandbag over the shoulder, 100 pounds, which is like how much I weigh really. So that's the strength event. And then the next event is speed, which is the burp 400. Have you ever heard of burp 400 or did the burp 400?
I have not done it, but I'm generally familiar. I do burpees and then I run a quarter mile, do burpees, run a quarter mile, do burpees, repeat.
Right, for 24 minutes total.
Ugh.
So you start a 3-minute timer, and within that 3 minute, you run 400 meters, and then whatever's left of that 3 minutes, you do burpees, and the accumulation of the burpees is your point. So it doesn't really, cool. Yeah, you have to run kind of somewhat fast, but you got to have some gas left in the tank to knock out a lot of burpees or as many burpees as you can, because that's how you get your points. Yep. And then after the speed event, they'll test your obstacle proficiency. They have an 80-foot rig of obstacles that you got to complete, and you only get one chance to do it. It's distant over time, so the further you go, the more points you get. But let's say you and I fell off at the same place, and whoever got there first, obviously, gets more points.
Got it.
Yeah. And then the fourth event is an OCR race. We're all familiar with OCRs, running and obstacles. The fifth event is endurance. It's like a last man standing. Everybody start out at the same time, and whoever lasts the longest wins that event. And you start out with an assault bike for calories, moving to a wall sit and or farmer's carry, and then go back to the assault bike, and then you do something else like a dead hang, and then go back to the assault bike, and then you just keep going until the last person. Yeah. And what was really cool this year do you know who Dylan Scott is?
I know the name. I don't think I've met him.
Yeah, so if you watch like High Rocks, or if you follow High Rocks recently, he took second place in the American Championship Series, I think.
Yeah, one spot ahead of Brent. Yeah, okay. Now, there we go. Yep.
That guy is phenomenal athlete, dude. Like his ability on the assault bike and just dead hang is second to none. Like I was really, really impressed. That dude is a monster on the assault bike.
Nice. Cool. Sounds like a great event, and I really like the kind of hybrid fitness approach there. That's a little weighted towards OCR, but it's got a lot of different aspects in there. That's really cool. So you mentioned earlier that you spent some time in Vietnam. So did you get to do any races while you were there in Southeast Asia?
I signed up for a Spartan race and some trail, like some 50K trail running. Trail race, but I didn't do it because of work schedule and traveling and stuff like that. Yeah.
Not too bad. Yeah, there's a series in Malaysia called Viper. I'm not sure if they're still operating, but they held a 24-hour race back in 2015. And I know Jung Young Pak went out there, and I was like, oh, that's cool. I'll go to Malaysia for a 24-hour race. And then
I actually looked that one up when I was over there. I don't think they're still doing that.
I know they only held a 24-hour race once, so I know that's not on the schedule, but I think they might still be doing shorter races. Maybe not. I don't know. I haven't looked into it recently.
Yeah, I definitely want to do some races overseas in 2022. I'm trying to work something in my schedule.
Yeah, it's cool. It's a different experience. I recommend doing a brand that's not in America, so something that's uniquely overseas specific.
Oh man, because I was thinking about doing like DECA in Europe or something.
To me, then you're gonna get a product you get in the U.S., but it's gonna be like you're gonna be constantly comparing it. You're gonna be like, oh, I like the ball we use in America better, or I like the sled we use. You're right, like. Because that's what I did.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go for it. I did a Toughest Mudder, an 8-hour one in UK, and the whole time I was like, oh, I like the monkey bars in America better, and like, why do they only have one upper body obstacle when in America we had like 3 at the time per lap, and so versus if I go to a completely different race, I don't have any expectations, so it's just like, oh, this is.
I hear you. No, it's I understand where you're coming from. But for me, like I want to do a race, in Europe or in Asia because I like to travel and see new places, and competition is competition, Yeah. I like to train for something so I can somewhat put myself in a good position in a competition. But yeah.
Right on. Any big trips planned once kind of COVID restrictions loosen and everything kind of opens back up completely?
No, I talked to one of my teammates about possibly doing a race in the Netherlands. Other than that, I'm still looking around, still planning. I mean, 2022 is still a long way out for me.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
have a lot of stuff going on with especially school. So yeah, my finals coming up in 2 weeks, so I'm trying to, study. Sure, I
Yeah.
get a good test grade. Yeah.
So how are you balancing your school to fitness life ratio there? Or how are you making that work?
I start my day early, like around 5:30. I knock out my run in before I go to class, and then I kind of use my class as a rest period. So after class, I would do another workout, like a strength session, lifting or something like that. Yeah, and then go to bed pretty early, like around 9:30.
Gotcha.
And it's like that Monday through Sunday, and then repeat.
And I mentioned in your bio at the beginning that you're going to be focusing on DecaFit in the future. So your lifting sessions kind of focused on that right now, or is
Yes,
it?
yes. I think it's gonna be better for me, schedule wise, because DECA is such a short event. I think it's a 30-minute workout, essentially. Yeah, so the training is gonna be really, really different. I don't think I'm gonna be putting in as much running as I do for OCR training. Still gotta run, but it's shorter runs, higher faster pace, basically, like 400s and 800 repeats.
Gotcha. And what's drawing you into the DecaFit over, let's say, High Rocks?
It's just new. Like I haven't competed in DECA, so I kind of want to test that out. And I was thinking about High Rocks, man, but I'm 125 pounds, and that sled is like 4 times my weight. I don't, I don't know, man. This sounds like a bad idea. Maybe I'll test it out in the future. We'll see. But
So
yeah.
give our listeners some of the events in DecaFit just so they're tracking.
DECA Fit is 10 zone of reverse lunges, to start out. Yeah, reverse lunges, and then um, concept two rower, box over, sit-ups, ski erg, farmer's carry, assault bike, ball over, like dead ball over, either
Mm-hmm.
your shoulder or a wall, a tank push pull, kind of like a sled. You push and pull, and then you finish off with ram burpees. Yeah.
Interesting.
10 stations with 500 meters of running in between. So total of 5 kilometers.
Gotcha. All right. Sounds exciting. Sounds good. Good
Yeah,
stuff.
I'm really excited to test that out.
Yeah. All right. I think we're going to start kind of wrapping things up here. Any final shout outs you want to give, Ben? Friends, family, sponsors, whatever?
Besides Grit Fitness, yeah, shout out to Grit Fitness. They're an awesome group of people. I love every teammate and everybody that I compete with. Basically, are good people.
Right
And
on.
yeah, can't wait for you to try out Grit Games 2022, man. If you can fit it in your schedule, I highly recommend it. It'll be a good experience.
Right on. Yeah, I'll definitely be keeping an eye out for it now. So, and then before we go, we always like to ask people, tell us something people would be surprised to know about you. So
There's nothing surprised
there's
about me.
nothing surprising about you.
Nope, I'm just a normal guy.
Normal guy. All right. Well, I see. I'm looking
Yes,
at your
sir.
picture. You got looks like you got a big thigh tattoo there. What's your thigh tattoo?
It's a koi fish.
Okay, koi fish. What's the significance? Any?
It shows perseverance.
Okay, right
Yeah.
on. I like it. All right.
Hey, thank you for having me on your podcast, Evan.
Yeah, it was great talking to you. Great getting to know you a little better. Like I said, I've seen you at races. I've seen you on podiums here and there. So it's nice to learn a little more about you and get your name out there a little more. And yeah.
Yeah, hopefully to see you more on the out on the course in 2022. And I hope Battle of the Lions, you know, comes back, and hopefully they have something here in Texas. It's not too far.
Yeah, I mean they opened 2022 registrations already, so
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
so looking good. Just
awesome.
I know if we want more obstacle lanes, I know we need more people, right? Like you can only
Yeah, for
build
sure.
build
Hmm.
so much, and it, I haven't really it's not quite a problem yet, right? But like it could be a problem if you yeah, we get or if we get more people, but not enough where like it creates enough funding where you can build more lanes. So
Right. Yeah. It's tough, man. It's tough to balance between the two.
yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Well, great talking to you, Van, and I will see you. You coming to the final Battle of the Alliance, or
What's the date for that? Do you know?
it's Little Rock? I believe it's August 9th. I mean, not August 9th. I'm
Oh,
sorry. October 9th.
October 9th. I think there is a Savage in Dallas, which I already signed up. But if it's on a different week, then yeah, I will be there for sure.
Gotcha. All right.
Yeah, I wanna say I did all four in 2021.
Gotcha. All right.
Yeah.
Well, again,
Awesome.
good.
Thank you, Evan.
All right. We'll catch you later.
All right. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye. Bye.